ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever seen her again after some time apart? And instead of feeling closer, you felt pushed away. Emotionally? No argument, no tension, no obvious problem. Just a strange sense that something didn't reconnect. Most men don't know what to do with that feeling. They assume closeness will return naturally. They assume time will fix it. They assume they're overthinking. But there's one behavior that shows up in that exact moment, right after she sees you, that most men completely misread. And if she does this, it may not be random. It may mean her emotional alignment has already shifted. Not because she's cruel, not because she's trying to hurt you, but because her nervous system is protecting something it doesn't want exposed. She creates emotional distance immediately after seeing you. Not coldness, not rejection, distance. It's subtle, controlled, almost polite. And that's why it's dangerous to ignore. This behavior doesn't show up over text. It doesn't show up in explanations. It shows up the moment you're physically present, the second the interaction becomes real. Because proximity creates pressure, and pressure reveals alignment. Point 1. She limits physical closeness subtly. This is the first place her body speaks. After intimacy with another man, the body often needs a buffer. Not because she's thinking about it consciously, but because emotional overlap creates internal conflict. So what do you notice? She still hugs you, but the hug is shorter. She still sits near you, but not close enough to touch naturally. She doesn't pull away dramatically. She simply doesn't lean in. And that's the key. There's no rejection you can point to, just a lack of initiation. Her body is saying, let's not blur boundaries right now. Most men miss this because they're waiting for a clear signal, but bodies rarely lie loudly. They whisper. Point 2. Her energy is neutral, not warm, not cold. This one confuses men the most because neutrality feels safe on the surface. She's polite, she's calm, she responds, but something essential is missing. Warmth. Emotional neutrality is a form of self-protection. It's a temporary emotional freeze, a way to stay composed without reconnecting too deeply. So what does that look like? She's present, but not engaged. Listening, but not absorbing. There, but not with you. She doesn't argue. She doesn't smile much either. There's no emotional charge. And here's the pattern that matters. She isn't reacting to you. She's managing herself. And when a woman is managing herself around you, it means something inside her is out of alignment. At this point, many men feel something but dismiss it. They think, she's just tired. She had a long day. She needs time. And sometimes that's true. But when distance appears immediately after seeing you, not after conflict, not after stress, that's not exhaustion. That's displacement. In the next part, we're going to go deeper. I'll show you how this distance shows up through eye contact, conversation redirection, and the moment when your body notices before your mind does. Before we continue, let me ask you this. Have you ever reunited with someone and felt less connected than before without knowing why? If that sounds familiar, stay with me, because the next signs are the ones men feel but rarely trust. Up to now, everything we've talked about could still be explained away. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's distracted. Maybe you're reading too much into it. That's what the mind says. But this is where the body gives signals the mind can't easily dismiss. Because emotional displacement doesn't just change how close she stands to you, it changes how long she can stay connected. And that shows up in two very specific ways. Point 3, she avoids eye contact during intimate moments. This one is uncomfortable to notice because eye contact is where emotional truth lives. You can fake words, you can manage tone, you can control posture, but sustained eye contact during personal moments, that's harder to fake. So what do you start seeing? When the conversation becomes personal, when you check in emotionally, when you show concern or affection, her eyes drift. She looks away a little too quickly. She checks her surroundings. She gets distracted by small things. Not constantly, but consistently enough to feel strange. Here's why this matters. Eye contact creates emotional alignment. It pulls two people into the same space. And guilt, or emotional overlap, makes that space uncomfortable. So the nervous system does the safest thing it can do. It breaks connection without breaking the interaction. She's still there, still talking, still responding, but she's no longer fully meeting you. And most men miss this because they're listening to what she's saying instead of watching where she can't stay. Point 4. She redirects the interaction quickly. Now pay attention to what happens next. When the moment starts to slow down, when there's silence, when intimacy might naturally deepen, she redirects. Not abruptly, not rudely, smoothly. She changes the topic to something neutral. She suggests going somewhere public. She suddenly needs to do something else, anything that prevents the moment from settling. Why? Because quiet moments create space for emotional exposure. And exposure is exactly what her system is avoiding. So instead of sitting with you, she keeps things moving. Conversation stays light, situational, safe. Work. Plans, logistics, anything but us. And here's the pattern that matters. She doesn't want the interaction to linger, not because she dislikes you, but because lingering risks emotional leakage, something slipping through, something being felt, so she manages to flow instead. At this point, most men start feeling something deeper, a low-level discomfort they can't name. It's not anger. It's not jealousy. It's disorientation. Because you're right there with her, yet you're not being met. And the worst part, there's nothing to confront. No statement. No behavior dramatic enough to call out. Just a growing sense that the connection is thinner, less anchored. And this is where men usually make a mistake. They try to recreate closeness, they talk more, they give more, they lean in harder emotionally, but that response often accelerates the distance. Because when someone is already protecting space, pressure doesn't pull them closer. It confirms the need to pull away. In the final part, we're going to talk about the moment everything becomes clear. The moment when you stop analyzing her behavior and start understanding what your reaction reveals. This is where the twist happens. Before we go there, ask yourself honestly, have you ever felt like she couldn't stay present with you, even though she was physically right in front of you? If yes, don't ignore that. Stay with me. Because what that feeling means isn't what most men think. Now, this is the part where everything comes together. Because by now, you're probably not asking, did she do something? You're asking, why do I feel this way when I'm with her? And that question matters far more. Point 5. She feels different, but can't explain why. This is the moment men struggle to describe. You're sitting across from her, you're talking. Nothing is technically wrong, but she doesn't feel like she used to. Not familiar, not anchored, not fully yours in the way she once was. And if you tried to explain it, you couldn't. Because this isn't a thought, it's a sensation. Your body senses emotional displacement. When a woman has recently bonded, emotionally or physically, with someone else, her internal reference point shifts. There's subconscious comparison, recalibration, a quiet reorganization of emotional priority. And you feel that as distance. Not because she's being cruel, not because she wants you to notice, but because emotional alignment has weight. And when it moves, the space between you changes. This is why men often say things like, she felt different, but I don't know why. That why isn't logical, it's biological. Here's the part most men get wrong. This behavior doesn't mean she's a bad person. It means her emotional loyalty is no longer aligned with you in the same way. And the moment you start chasing clarity, asking more questions, seeking reassurance, trying to pull her back emotionally, you confirm that shift. Not because questions are weak, but because neediness always follows displacement. When a man senses distance and tries to close it emotionally, he reverses polarity. He signals, I feel the gap more than you do. And from that moment on, the imbalance deepens. The issue was never whether she was with another man. The real issue is this. How do you respond when you feel yourself being pushed out of emotional alignment? Let's simplify everything. Attraction and respect don't disappear through words. They disappear through energy, presence, emotional congruence. When those are gone, no explanation will fix it. And here's the hardest truth. A high-value man doesn't need every answer. He only needs to recognize when alignment is gone, because chasing certainty costs you dignity, and dignity is what actually keeps you grounded, whether she stays or goes. This is where calm strength shows. You don't interrogate, you don't accuse, you don't try to get her back. You do something far more powerful. You slow down. You reduce emotional investment. You stop overgiving. You observe how she responds to space, not as a test, not as manipulation, but as information. Because when a woman values you, space doesn't scare her. And when she doesn't, no amount of effort will restore what's already shifted. The man who understands this doesn't argue with reality. He respects it. If seeing you makes her pull away emotionally, that's not a mystery to solve. That's a message to hear. Energy never lies. Presence never lies. Your nervous system never lies. And the man who trusts that never needs to beg for clarity because he's already aligned with himself. If this felt familiar, comment, I noticed this. If you believe energy tells the truth before words ever do, like this video. And if you want awareness instead of illusions, subscribe to this channel. Because the right connection doesn't make you feel displaced, and the right mindset won't let you abandon yourself just to keep someone close.